I'm Lieutenant Colonel Jim Parsons, retired, and I'm also the chairman of the Bella Vista Patriots. Lived here in Bella Vista ever since 1998, so been here for over 20 years. Done this several times, interviews of World War II veterans, primarily because so many of them were our parade marshals in our 4th of July Patriot Parade. But all those interviews, I was on that side of the camera. This is the first time for me to be on this side of the camera, so this is new to me. And on doing the interviews of those World War II, they were all the same. They were all different because, all right, they were born somewhere here in America. They went to high school. They were 17, 18, 19 years old. Joined the military because World War II was on. When the war was over, they came home and they married, had children, had their careers, and now most of them are deceased. But in it, those were all the same. Every one of them was different because some of them fought in the Pacific, some fought in Europe, some were at Normandy, some were prisoners of war, some were bomber pilots, jet pilots, and infantrymen, officers, enlisted, and so they were different. And when they came home, they had different interests, went into different careers, and so their lives were unique. And as they did the interviews, I always told them these are going to go to the archives in Washington, D.C. to be part of history. They're also going to go to your children and your grandchildren so they'll know who Grandpa was. And so always remember the rhyme as you do this: he who tooteth not his own horn, it too shall not be tooted. So here we go, I'm going to toot. And I guess my first one was, I was born in Lebo, Kansas. Enjoyed my life as a child in Kansas. My father was a superintendent and football coach through the war. He had been in World War I, was too old to be in World War II. My brother, of course, went off to war. But in 1948, my grandmother and grandfather had died and left the farm to my mother. And for some reason, we decided to move to Ladonia, Texas. Black land, black gumbo. We were not farmers. And you have to be a farmer to succeed. We had 2 years of drought, 1 year too much rain, and we had a black family that lived with us. And I just believe that a person is who they are, their character and everything comes from times that they live in and their environment, and also people they run into that they admire and people that they are mentors to them. And so I believe that's what shapes a person's character. And of course, for all of us, I think the role model was sent to us, Jesus Christ, and the Bible to tell us how to live our lives. That certainly has an overriding influence over everything else. But there on the farm, there was an incident and a time and an environment that did shape my life to what it is today. And I'm 86 years old, and through all these years, things that have guided me was we had a black man, that Afro-American, that worked for us, had a pretty wife, two wonderful children, boy and a girl, and we shared with him our money, our eggs, milk, and so forth as he helped. And so this man was precious to us. We loved his family just like anyone else. And one night, about midnight, my father saw 4 cars coming up the road toward our farmhouse out south of Ladonia. And my father thought, well, those are high school kids. They're going to toilet paper our yard, or it's a high school prank because Jim's quarterback of the football team, and that's what's going to happen. But that wasn't, the lights went out on the cars, and my father thought, well, maybe not. Maybe these are not high school kids. Maybe there's something sinister here. So they stopped in front of Harrison Jones, our Afro-American house, and they got out of the car and they went in and got him and drug him out in his underwear, threw him in the car, and they passed on by the house with the lights out. And as they got 100 yards away from the house, the lights came back on. They took Harrison out on a railroad track and they poured whiskey on him to make it look like here was just another black man that had been hit by a train, was drunk, and they beat him to death with clubs. We knew that that story wouldn't wash because the train didn't come by that night, for one thing, and the other thing, we knew that Harrison didn't drink. And in the newspapers next day, nothing. Townspeople were not talking about it. No one was mentioning anything, and it just never came out. The only thing that came out was that the doctor said that he died of pneumonia. I should have said something, and I didn't. I had a little bit of a platform. Maybe I could have talked at 17, 18 years old, but I, just like the rest, said nothing. And so 50 years later, on my conscience so much, I got a hold of a reporter from the Dallas Observer, asked him to meet me in Ladonia, and let's get to the truth of that story. Who did that murder? And so he did meet me there, and the doctor who had given the report that he died of pneumonia had died, so there wasn't anything we could do there. It was probably people who sat in the pews in the church next to me. It could have even been the sheriff or some of the deputies. But we really never did find out exactly who did that. They did say the reason that they did it was that he looked at a white girl's legs. Sue Bartley, our cheerleader and prettiest girl in school, and went on to East Texas State University and was elected most beautiful. Of course, people were looking at her legs. She insisted. And so, but that shouldn't be a death penalty. And that was a terrible crime. But I thought the worst crime about it all was that no one said anything. And it kind of taught me a lesson, and for the rest of my life, it's been a thing of, if you see something, say something.